Gentlemen, a very good evening to you, and we welcome you to the Miami Arena here in Miami, Florida, as we have a big night of action in store for you, and it's all brought to you by Arthur Palullo's Banner Promotions and Showtime. This bout coming away is also brought to you by Main Events and is sanctioned by the Florida State Athletic Commission. Introducing to you our three judges scoring this bout from ringside. From Boca Raton, Florida, Fred Flutie. Also from Boca Raton, Michael Pernick. And from Miami, John Rupert. And the third man to the ring, the referee in charge of this bout, Frank Santori Jr. All right, fans, here we go with a super lightweight special attraction scheduled for 10 rounds of boxing. Introducing to you first on my right, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black trunks with gold trim, hailing from Pensacola, Florida. He weighed in at 140.5 pounds. His record stands at 25 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw, with 13 wins coming by way of knockout. Introducing Lemuel Nelson. Across the ring on my left, fighting out of the red corner, this 10-round attraction, wearing white trunks with red and green trim. He hails from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. His weight, 141 pounds, a member of the 2000 Mexican Olympic team. His professional record stands at 12 wins, 1 loss, with 11 big wins coming by way of knockout. He is ranked number 11 in the world by the WBC as a super lightweight. Introducing the baby-faced assassin, please welcome Francisco Panchito Bojado. And once again, a referee in charge, Frank Santori Jr. Now to give instructions, 10-round scheduled bout.
All right, Joey, went over everything in the dressing room. Let's recap real quick. Let's watch your heads, all right? Just keep your hands in front of your face. It won't be called a butt. All right, let's keep it clean. Gentlemen, both your belts are right about the belt line. So here or above is fair, here or above is fair. Have any questions? Any questions? Good luck to you, gentlemen.
He was boxing's new darling until that surprising loss to Rubio here on Showtime. Panchito Bojado, who took out his first 9 opponents in just 14 rounds before the defeat. And Lemuel Nelson, he knows that Bojado will look for the big punch. And he said he plans to pressure Panchito and push the action. He does have a good chin. He'll need it tonight. But you have to wonder if his aggressive game plan will work, or will it backfire against Bojado?
And we have a very small ring here tonight, which is something to consider for all the bouts this evening. There's not a lot of room to move.
Small ring generally favors a fighter who comes forward, who is aggressive. Nelson, more of a mover and a darter. He has a darting style. He has frustrated opponents in the past. Good quick right hand, a weapon which Bojado is sometimes vulnerable to, but this is not the same Lemuel Nelson who dropped Acelino Freitas about 3 years ago.
Nice combination there by Nelson. He's starting right out doing what he wanted to do, and that is be active with his hands and not just be standing in front of Bojado. Floyd Mayweather Jr., we referenced him at the beginning. An interesting contrast in trainers. Alton Murkison, who of course works with Roy Jones Jr., is in Lemuel Nelson's corner. And these are, good right hand by Nelson. These are 2 men who are as different in terms of their styles as you can possibly be. Murkison, much more sedate and calm. Floyd Mayweather, a much more verbose guy.
Bojado wearing the white with red and green, 12-1 with 11 knockouts. Nelson in the black with gold trim, 25, 6-1, 13 knockouts. Nelson not a big power puncher. Therefore, Bojado, you would think, can afford to go in and be somewhat brave. Nelson may not be on Bojado's skill level, but he can
don't punch.
Use the experience and his awkward style to his advantage.
I actually said Floyd Mayweather Jr. In fact, of course, that's his son who's a boxer. It would be Floyd Mayweather Sr. Jr. would hardly be training Bojado, I don't think.
Unless he's doing a little moonlighting.
Exactly.
Bojado usually patient at the shot. Oh, right hand to the head by Nelson.
That's the weapon we talked about. Nelson is a very good counterpuncher with the right hand.
So Lemuel Nelson looking the sharper of the two here at the get-go with 40 seconds left in the opening round. Scheduled for 10.
Let him go.
We saw Bojado again go with the hook to the body, and there's the double hook. But of course, the right hand of Nelson is what comes if you leave that hook lay there.
Don't hold him.
Very intriguing first round.
Stop! 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 Both of you behind the head. You two behind the head. Watch.
Both guilty of the rabbit punch. Beautiful combination upstairs by Bojado. A good illustration of those ultra-quick hands. Now digging to the body. It's as if he's mad from that right hand that landed earlier. Round 2 scheduled for 10. First round saw Lemuel Nelson score nicely with a right hand upstairs, and then Bojado retaliated with some nice combinations towards the end of the round.
You know, it's interesting. The right hand that we talked about in the keys there did land for Nelson in the first round, and he landed one again right here. So it's a real danger area for Bojado.
Francisco.
But Bojado was able to get that body work in early with the hooks and the right hand downstairs.
Some vicious shots to the midsection by Bojado. There's a combination to the head by Bojado. So quick. Bojado feeling Nelson's the type who can throw you off your game plan. He can box or go straight ahead like he did against Freitas. Bojado sparring with a guy named Anthony Johnson who has a similar style to Nelson. Left right combination to the jaw by Nelson. Bojado missing with the right.
Watch it. Stop! Stop!
They very much want Bojado to use his jab more. Mayweather said yesterday that he's very distressed when Panchito doesn't jab his way in. And there's an example of it. He doesn't have to land the jab all the time, but part of the reason why in the last fight he had a clash of heads and got cut was because he was coming in wildly, not behind the jab.
Stop! 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 No, don't grab him punch. All right. Okay.
Referee Frank Santori cautioning Lemuel Nelson for grabbing. Bojado seems to be getting into a nice rhythm now. Not your stereotypical Mexican fighter. He was born in Guadalajara, grew up and now resides in Los Angeles, went to the same high school as Oscar De La Hoya, fueling more comparisons.
And now, of course, with his trainer, with Oscar's trainer, that even adds to it. But he embraces that. He doesn't let that become a shadow over him.
He had to deal with a lot of pressures and high expectations coming up through the ranks. Does have the ability to slip and avoid punches.
Good break.
Seems to be the first of many young Mexican-American fighters who break the traditional mold of Mexican boxers and how they are perceived.
Come on, don't hold inside. Work your way out. Punch your way out, guys. Come on.
Final 30 seconds of round 2.
There you saw some of the hand speed of Bojado. That's one of the edges he has in this fight. Nelson not as good a combination punchers. And there you see the right. Nelson will pin his hopes on that punch. Trust me.
Dazzling shots here. A little on the wide side by Bojado, but nothing offered back by Nelson. Those shots getting through and hurting Nelson. And now Nelson spins Bojado around. Nelson with tremendous resolve. Great exchange, and they continue to throw after the bell.
When that guy goes to the body, man, keep your elbows down here.
We take a look at Bojado going downstairs. See him pinpointing the body. He has a great left hook downstairs. And some of those getting in as Nelson tries to protect his head. Bojado is committed to body work. And at the end of the round, a terrific exchange in which it was really Nelson, I think, who started hitting after the bell, and when Bojado responded. Now, Bojado had landed a couple of good shots prior to that.
So now, Al, we have a little bad blood added to the equation. Bojado has the look of a baby, but a very serious demeanor and cold concentration. abrasion or a trickle of blood under the right eye. Remember, the cut which he sustained 15 seconds into his last fight with the Armenian, William Adamian, was around the right eye. It was a deep gash, but it wasn't going straight into the eye. It was sort of going around the eye, and he was able to survive it. And then he knocked out Adamian in round 6.
And one of the things he's doing that's very similar to that fight is he is not following the jab as much as they would like on the inside. He's lurching inside, landing power shots, but putting his head in a position where he can have a clash with head.
Don't grab him and punch now. Let him go.
Frank Santori, a busy man here, mostly admonishing Nelson for some roughhouse tactics.
Nelson would do well to use his own jab a little bit more because the counter right hand hasn't been as available to him since that first round. The jab would help set it up.
A little more cautious, I would think, after tasting the leather.
Punches up. He punches
and feeling
up.
the power of Bojado. Fighting more from a distance now is Nelson. And Bojado coming up short as a result with that right hand. Good left hook to the neck by Bojado in that exchange. Countering shot.
Nelson showing you some of the movement that we've seen in other fights from him. He can move and he can box and give angles, and that's what he's trying to do to Bojado. But when he does that, it's really imperative that he's active. If you let Panchito Bojado get into his rhythm and continually come forward and you never press him and push him back, he's a machine like this.
And here he goes. But back comes Nelson. He's game. Shakes his head at Bojado as if to say, that's all you have to offer.
Break, don't punch. Break.
Well, this may be Bojado's toughest foe today.
Punch
Well,
away.
Nelson did fight for the title against Freitas at a lower weight. Lost, of course, but then we're talking about a superstar in Acelino Freitas. And he's 5-1-1 in his last 7 bouts. So he's a man of note in this division.
Wicked body shots. Look at these. Shots by Bojado. Left hook.
Watch your head. Watch your
Trying
head.
to wear him down. The accumulative effect. Right hand on the inside. Snuck it. Right uppercut by Bojado. After a Nelson shot. Nelson looking to follow Bojado to the corner. He is tough. Bojado handling that adversity very well. Knocked out Adamian in the 6th. Another good learning experience. Nice early birthday present as he turned 20 the very next day. Now they touch gloves. Haven't seen much sportsmanship in this fight. That's the first time.
Don't normally do that in the 4th round, but good for them. And actually, there wasn't too much carryover from when they hit each other after the bell.
They usually touch gloves for the last round. Maybe Bojado has something in mind.
Or Nelson, for that matter.
I know Sugar Ray Robinson once pulled that off. He touched the guy's gloves in the 2nd round, and the guy said, "You don't do that in the last round." Robinson, through his gum shield, said, "This is the last round."
Ray Robinson could make that stick, too, that's for sure.
He could back it up. Round 4.
There's the right hand of Nelson. Bojado has put himself less and less in a position where that can be a problem for him. There's the stiff jab of Bojado. Floyd Mayweather is absolutely obsessed with the idea that Bojado needs to jab more. He said if he doesn't, it will completely impede the progress we've made. He said, I can't emphasize how important that is.
Mayweather Sr., a tough disciplinarian who also trains a fellow by the name of Oscar De La Hoya. Terrific defensive fighter.
Did you know an interesting stat that I learned today? Floyd Mayweather has never lost a championship fight as a trainer. With De La Hoya, with his son, Stevie Forbes, never once. It's amazing. And if he has his way, this guy will be in a championship match pretty soon, too.
He may have another title holder very soon in Panchito Bojado. Lemuel Nelson, though, at least tonight with other ideas. He wants to follow in the footsteps of Juan Rubio, who upset Bojado 4 fights back.
Stop. Break. Come on, you're tied up.
Now, Bojado's having his way so far, doing very well after a first round that was close. But we have to remember that part of the rap on him is sometimes in the later rounds he gets tired, and Nelson is hanging in there.
Nelson made a point of that in our fighter meeting with him yesterday. He's trying to take this fight deep to perhaps see that come to fruition.
There's no question, though, Bojado has worked a lot on his stamina with physical trainer Rob Garcia. He feels like he's doing much better in that regard. We'll see.
Wicked right uppercut to the chin by Bojado, followed up by a left hook. Now a right. He's just throwing bombs. Some of them are missing.
But the Nelson right hand, when he lays on the inside, landed twice. There it is again.
Big right hand. A lunging right by Nelson with blood coming from the right nostril of Lemuel. Lemuel, Maine Nelson.
And stop, break. Come on, step back. Step back.
Showing tremendous heart. And getting the respect of Panchito.
Get your jab back working, okay? Okay. Come on, give me the bucket. Give me the water. Spit up. Spit. Again. Get your jab back. Outscoring. That's what I'm talking about.
Lemuel Nelson knew this was his ticket. There's the right hand that gets in, even though Bojado's left wasn't that low. Earlier he had one where it was lower, but you see Nelson can land that right hand, and we get another look at it. He's quick with the right hand, and there is a quick right hand, and even though Bojado wasn't hurt by it and he kept fighting back, it's an indication. There's another one. It might be foreshadowing of some things to come.
Lemuel Nelson, who happens to have lost his last fight, an 8-round decision, does have a very good chin, as mentioned, and he does fight well going backwards. But he is showing that good, quick right hand as well.
He's happy that this fight's in a climate-controlled arena. The last fight against Roberto Ortega, they had it outdoors in January. It dipped to 40 degrees here in Florida, and it was a nightmare for the two fighters.
I doubt that will happen tonight.
So far, we're nice and cool and comfy here.
But very hot and muggy outside, temperature near 90. One of those typical tropical August days and nights here in South Florida. On and off rain showers and a little bit of sun.
This would be the time in the bout, I would think, where Nelson would want to try and push Bojado back, and you see him trying to do that. He had his moments in the last round. This might be the time where he might want to try and pressure him and push him back. But, of course, there's danger there because Bojado has that power.
Bojado with some outstanding body work, and the old adage, get the body and then go for the head. We'll see if that materializes.
Nelson has been much more active in this round. Bojado has been really timid about throwing punches, and you see what happens when Bojado is pushed back. It's not the way he likes to box. And this has been one of the better rounds for Lemuel Nelson.
Talked about Bojado and the influence of Mayweather Sr. Nelson, well-schooled under the tutelage of Alton Merkerson.
Don't grab me.
Terrific trainer who has done wonders and helped Roy Jones Jr. The Roy Jones pretty much knows how to box himself, but still Alton is a fine trainer. Great combination there by Bojado. The first really good combination we've seen in this round from him.
Spiraling right uppercut to the chin by Bojado on the inside. Not where Nelson wants to be on the ropes. Another digging body shot with the right hand by Bojado, followed by a left hook, but it was blocked.
This round could give Lemuel Nelson a little boost of confidence. If he senses in his mind that Bojado is slowing down a bit, good luck by Bojado, but it's Lemuel Nelson who's pushing the attack.
Perhaps the experience factor also paying off for Lemuel Nelson. He has had a series of solid opponents throughout his career, several good-looking victories, but recently fighting only occasionally. As mentioned, his first fight in 7 months. And he did drop Ocelino Freitas with a short right hand in the first round.
Don't leave with your shoulder.
Around 3 years ago, although he lost the fight in the second. Nice right hand on the break by Nelson to the head. Now, this is true to Nelson's explanation of his game plan to us yesterday. He said he would attempt to do just that. Try to back Bojado up and get him out of his rhythm, stay on top of him. And he's been doing a pretty good job of that. Round 6 of 10. You heard Alton Murchison call Nelson Maine his nickname. He got it when he was a little guy from his mom. He carried himself like a grown man, so they called him Maine Man, and it just stuck. And then they lost the man and just called him Maine.
That's pretty much what we call you around here at Showtime Boxing, the Maine Man.
Don't grab and hit. That's the last time. Don't get me involved in the scoring. Don't do it again.
Now Frank Santori with some words for Lemuel Nelson once again for the roughhouse tactics. Bojado once again showing the speed.
What's been absent the last several rounds for Panchito Bojado is the combination punching that we saw earlier. He's just not putting his punches together as much as he was earlier.
Press row scoring. How about you, Al?
I've given everything but one round to Francisco Bojado. I scored the last round 10-9 for Lemuel Nelson.
You lead with your head inside.
4 rounds to 1.
Let's give these guys a plug. Solis from Univision Telefutura, Harrison from Bragging Rights Corner.com, and Monica from FightNews.com. Halfway point.
I would have it 49-46
Let him go. Don't hold him. Let him go.
Bojado. I got my abacus out and checked it out.
You read my mind. I was just going to say.
Francisco, watch your head.
We've worked together too long. Well, it's only been a few shows.
Unbelievable. That's scary. Minute to go in round 6.
Lemuel Nelson runs a serious risk here, though. While he got things going for himself in the 5th round, he's being passive enough that he's not really imposing himself enough to make the judges think he wants this fight. After all, let's be honest, he's facing a young man who's an up-and-coming star, who's very aggressive, and you better do something if you're planning on winning this fight by decision.
And showing his heavy-handedness as well, Bojado. That left hook sent him back. Body shots by Bojado. Nelson's taking it.
Don't hold him. Come on, work your way out.
And a right uppercut on the inside. He snuck one in there, did Nelson. Bojado's only been down once in his 13 fights against Rubio.
Relax. How you feel? You feel good? Come on. You feel all right? Panchito, you laugh, man? Talk to me.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Look here. A lot of times you're not using your jab. Me and Joe, we look at it. God said we all looking at it, man. Use your jab more.
Here's where the warning came to Lemuel Nelson. It's for holding and hitting. And that was pretty obvious, and he'd done that a couple times before. Bojado has a complete arsenal of punches. And he uses the uppercut there. He's got an uppercut, a hook, a jab, a straight right hand. Offensively, there's very little wrong with him.
The uppercut ended his last fight. You may have heard Mayweather Sr. in the corner exhorting him to throw the jab more.
And really, Floyd Mayweather is absolutely correct. It's the missing component for Bojado. When he uses it with commitment and doubles up with it, he's a completely different fighter. And in this fight, he really hasn't used it enough.
He's just throwing crushing shots to the midsection, to the ribs. There's a left hand
elbow down
by Bojado. Stuffing the jab there. There's the jab. If he follows it up. Jab's such a great weapon. There's a beautiful left hand, a jab that scored right through the defense by Bojado.
Now Nelson is hoping to do better in these later rounds. Of course, he better get started since it's the 7th. He's been 12 rounds 5 times, 10 rounds twice. So he told that distance. Bojado's been 10 rounds 2 times. But clearly, Nelson is a veteran who knows what it is to go into the later rounds. But you've got to make something happen. It's not just enough to get there.
Just wrestling.
Bojado averages just 3.5 rounds into round 7.
See, right there, with all that feinting and everything Bojado did, they would just as soon see him throw 2 jabs instead of all of that. And, you know, I'm being critical. He's winning the fight. He's winning virtually every round. But this fight is not just about winning. This fight is about showing your wares, showing everybody where you're at, and letting the world know whether you are ready to inch up another level.
And now he is listening to Mr. Mayweather. We're seeing more of the jab, like just there. It was blocked. But he's pushing Nelson back with the jab. And perhaps it'll set up a big right hand.
And Lemuel Nelson is doing what I suggested in the Keys to Victory he shouldn't. He's doing a lot of posing. So you can't do that against Bojado. If you give him the chance to just set his own pace, he'll do very well. And that's what he's doing.
Box.
Again, the body work by Bojado. He's committed to it. It's very impressive. We saw Juan Diaz and Rocky Juarez a couple of weeks ago in Houston, 2 young fighters who also are terrific body punchers, and Bojado is in the same category.
Bojado showing his defensive elusiveness there by slipping away from Nelson, making him look bad.
Break, come on, let's go.
This has been almost a textbook round for Bojado. He's done just about everything they would want him to do.
So Francisco Panchito Bojado in the white trunks, looking sharp, but there was a nice combination upstairs by Nelson just before the bell.
Good stop.
Bojado coming off perhaps his most impressive round of the fight as we enter round 8, scheduled for 10. Former world title challenger Lemuel Nelson in the black trunks. Once beaten, Panchito Bojado, 12-1, 11 knockouts, 3-0 since his lone stunning loss to Juan Rubio.
There was a straight right that landed for Lemuel Nelson. Remember in round 1, seems like a long time ago. In round 2, some stunning right hands landed by Nelson, but they have been few and far between since. And you know, the left hand of Bojado is still low, but he can't get that punch in.
Left hook blocked by Nelson. I think a lot of that body work, some vicious body shots earlier and throughout by Bojado, taking its toll on Nelson.
He is committed to the body work, Panchito Bojado, and it's fun to see young boxers like him. And I mentioned Diaz and Juarez, Jermaine Taylor, Jeff Lacey. You look at these young fighters, they're really getting back to the basics of body punching, and it's fun to see. Fun for us, not the opponents.
Exactly. Under 2 minutes remaining in the 8th. Again, body punches by Bojado. Nelson, though, continues to look game.
Lemuel Nelson was very clear to us that he was as conditioned as he could possibly be for this fight. And you know what? He wasn't lying, because he has taken some big shots. He has stayed relatively competitive, even though he's been losing these rounds. And if he wasn't in fantastic condition, he would be down right now.
And there was some concern about ring rust, having not fought in about 7 months, but apparently not.
No, that really hasn't been an issue. It's not that he's fighting poorly. It's that Bojado is fighting well, and maybe Lemuel Nelson just can't do enough to keep him off.
And Bojado's punches certainly have more sting and zip to them. Nice defense once again, shown by Bojado, blocking all that.
It is interesting, though, when you think about this and compare. Here's Bojado, who's hit Nelson with some pretty big punches, not hurt him badly or knocked him down. How about, does this tell you how hard Acelino Freitas hits? at 130, 10 pounds less
Watch
than
your head, watch your head,
Bojado,
guys.
he knocked Lemuel Nelson out. So it tells you how hard Freight hits.
Although there was some controversy there as Nelson claimed that he was dropped after the bell, but it was so academic.
Well, he'd been hurt before that, so.
Oh, man. So he went down against Freitas after he had Freitas down in the first. His only other knockdown was back in 01 against a fighter named David Armstrong, and Nelson lost that fight. He was knocked out in the 10th. As we head for the bell at the end. Nelson, after the bell, claiming Bojado used roughhouse tackle.
It's a point. Oh, that's a point.
And Santori's taking a point. Santori said that's enough. I will deduct a point. So round 9. Bojado with a big cushion here.
It would take a miracle for Nelson to win this fight by decision right now, in my opinion. He would have to really do something dramatic. Multiple knockdowns, at least. And I'm not even sure that would do it.
And Panchito Bojado certainly has other ideas as he continues to come forward and jab away.
We heard Alton Murchison telling Lemuel Nelson, you've got to do more. You just haven't done enough in this fight.
Come on, watch your back. Watch your
And
wide
it's
punch
true,
in
he
the
has
back.
not been active enough. That's been a big issue, I think. One thing that Nelson hasn't done is been tempted to throw the left hook. Good uppercut by Bojado. If he was throwing more wide left hooks, he'd have been knocked out by now.
Bojado with a terrific array of punches, a wonderful arsenal, and the uppercut is becoming a fan favorite, and he's just laying it on here.
The combination punching of Bojado is so much fun to watch.
Hard body punch to the ribs by Nelson. Every once in a while he sneaks one in.
When Bojado languishes on the inside, it gives somebody like Nelson a chance to land some shots. And that's what Floyd Mayweather's really talking to him about. Be a boxer puncher. You can throw all those combinations, but don't languish in there. Get back, get your distance, and do it all over again.
Al, I think to this point that Bojado is passing this test with flying colors against a very gritty, experienced pro who once challenged for a world championship.
Come on, guys, you just rest on the side.
A good performance by Bojado. He's done many things very, very well. And the only issue that remains is there is still some spotty defense when he lays on the inside, and we have to see how well a really experienced big punching fighter could take advantage of that. But he's only 20 years old, so we have to give him time to develop too.
No knockdowns. Bojado climbing the ratings now at number 11 in the eyes of the World Boxing Council.
Don't push his head down. Don't push his head down. Come on, guys.
And as Al just pointed out, only 20 years old, just turned 20. Final seconds of the ninth. Another round controlled by Bojado.
You jab his eyeballs out this round.
We have seen a full array of punches by Bojado. He loves to throw the uppercut. Snuck it in from well back, which is normally a problem, but he gets rid of that punch so quick he can deliver it from farther out than some other fighters can. Notice the way he ducks under the jab of Nelson and is able to get that punch in.
Well, Bojado, as he touches gloves with Nelson, lost his only fight that went the full 10-round distance, but he's clearly way ahead in this instance. Round 10.
You know, I've had a little theory about Panchito Bojado that I am now starting to believe is could be true. People think of him as a devastating puncher. I think he is a sharp puncher, and I believe this fight is a demonstration of that. And I think it makes it really incumbent upon him to be the very best fighter he can be, because I do not believe as he moves up the ranks in the junior welterweight division that he'll be scoring knockout after knockout after knockout. I think this is the kind of fight he's going to find himself in a lot.
I'm going to write that down.
Make a note
and hold you to it.
All right.
Both fighters 1-1 in 10 rounders.
If I'm wrong, I'll owe you a couple dollars.
That's the beauty part of it. If you're wrong, nobody will remember you said.
All right, stop. Don't punch. Don't watch your head. Come on, get up with the head. Box.
Great display of body punching throughout by young Panchito Bojado that has worn Nelson out. But Nelson showing a lot of resolve. Staying right there. Throwing punches. But obviously Bojado's punch is more effective, sharper. The word Al likes.
Lemuel Nelson still here in this 10th round, certainly not giving up, certainly not looking like he's just surviving. He's trying to throw some punches, trying to get some things done.
Don't punch. Come on, stop, guys.
It's just been a very sporadic effort on his part. And he's showing us really that Lemuel Nelson's the kind of guy who will beat a lot of the lightweights, junior welterweights, junior lightweights that are ranked down around the 20th mark or a little below that. But when you get above that, he's going to have some issues.
As we approach the final 30 seconds of the final round.
Break! Don't punch. Don't punch. Come on.
Here's that combination by Bojado. And the champ of Mexico for Bojado, originally from that country. Final seconds of the fight. Most of the folks here from Brazil and Argentina getting ready for the big main event.
Don't punch. Don't punch.
Getting behind Bojado as well.
Well, you know, Bojado ends up winning most of the rounds in this fight. He ends up getting himself a fine win. I'm sure it would be a win for Bojado. It would be shocking to think otherwise.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 10 rounds of action, we go to the scorecards with a unanimous decision. Here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, Michael Pernick scores about 98-91. Judges John Rupert and Fred Flutie both scored about 99-90. All three in favor of the winner, Francisco Panchito Bojado.
A lopsided point victory for Panchito Bojado. I believe you had it pretty much the same out.
99-90, as two of the judges did.
So Panchito Bojado lifting his record overall to 13-1. Now 4-0 since the loss to Juan Carlos Rubio, February 2002. Lemuel Nelson slipping to 25-7-1. Nice job by Panchito. Bojado heads to the dressing room.